For centuries they thrived, building empires that touched the sky. They charted the stars, built monuments to last millennia, and created worlds of breathtaking complexity. But they knew a secret. A clock was ticking towards a world-ending catastrophe. We've been told they just prayed to their gods for salvation, pleading for mercy when disaster struck. But what if that's only half the story? What if their true religion was engineering? If you're fascinated by how ancient civilizations tackled existential threats, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Hidden in the ruins of these lost civilizations are the blueprints for survival. Ingenious, and sometimes brutal, methods they used to prepare for the end of the world. These weren't just societies waiting for doom. They were civilizations that fought back with earth, stone, and water. They didn't just pray for rain, they built systems to command it. They didn't just fear famine, they architected systems to defy it. And tonight we uncover those plans. When catastrophe came for the ancient world, it often came as water, either way too much or not nearly enough. A devastating flood could wipe out a generation of work in an instant, while a prolonged drought could wither an empire to dust. To survive, you had to become a master of water, and few were greater masters than the Maya. The Maya civilization famously rose in the dense jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, an area with almost no surface rivers and a brutal 5-month dry season. So how did they support teeming cities like Tikal, with a population that may have been as high as 80,000 people? They looked to the sky. The Maya became obsessive rainwater harvesters. They engineered their cities to be giant catchments. Paved plazas, roads, and even the roofs of their buildings were designed to funnel every precious drop of rain into a complex network of canals. These canals fed massive man-made reservoirs, some capable of holding millions of liters of water, which sustained the population through those punishing dry months. But storing water was only half the battle. Stagnant water breeds disease. The Maya had a solution for that too. Archaeologists have found they use sand to filter their water, sometimes importing it from miles away. And at Tikal, they did something truly revolutionary. Incredibly, researchers discovered evidence of one of the world's oldest water purification systems, built over 2,000 years ago. They imported zeolite, a volcanic crystal that creates a natural molecular sieve, filtering out harmful microbes and toxins. It's a material still used in modern water filters today, and the Maya figured it out millennia before anyone else. They then turned their reservoirs into living ecosystems, cultivating aquatic plants that naturally cleaned the water. Water lilies, a symbol of Maya kingship, became a beautiful sign of clean, life-sustaining water, directly linking a king's power to his ability to provide it. This command of water wasn't unique to the Maya. Half a world away in modern-day Pakistan, the Indus Valley civilization faced the opposite threat: catastrophic flooding from the Indus River. Their solution was urban planning on a scale unseen for its time. The city of Mohenjo-Daro, built around 2500 BC, was a marvel of hydraulic engineering. The city stood on massive mud brick platforms to raise it above the floodwaters. But its real genius lay beneath the streets. They constructed the ancient world's most sophisticated sanitation system, with almost every house having indoor plumbing connected to a citywide network of covered drains. This system was so effective that there are remarkable reports from the massive floods in Pakistan in 2022. While modern towns were inundated, the 4,500-year-old drains of Mohenjo-Daro apparently still functioned, channeling water away from the ancient city. From the irrigation canals of Peru to the massive dams built to tame China's Yellow River, the story is the same. Ancient civilizations didn't just live at the mercy of water, they bent it to their will. Their cities weren't just places to live, but masterfully engineered machines for survival. For any ancient society, the greatest fear wasn't just a sudden disaster, but the slow, creeping catastrophe of famine. A failed harvest, a plague of locusts, or a long drought could bring any empire to its knees. The answer was simple in concept, but monumental in execution: stockpiling. Creating a surplus was the cornerstone of civilization, and protecting that surplus was the key to weathering the apocalypse. Across the ancient world, one structure stands as a testament to this foresight: the granary. In ancient Egypt, a civilization built on the agricultural bounty of the Nile, granaries were a critical part of the state's power. The biblical story of Joseph interpreting the pharaoh's dream of 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine speaks to a deep cultural understanding of these cycles. His strategy, to store 1/5 of the harvest during the good years, was a direct reflection of established Egyptian practice. These weren't just simple sheds either. Roman granaries, or horea, were marvels of engineering designed to fight moisture and pests. They were built with thick walls and, most importantly, raised floors supported by columns. This created an air gap underneath, keeping the grain cool, dry, and safe from rodents. It was a simple yet profoundly effective system for long-term food security that supplied sprawling cities and military forts across the empire. But infrastructure was only part of the plan. Governments played a direct role in disaster relief. When crisis struck, the state was expected to step in. Roman emperors like Tiberius and Titus set the standard for government response, sending money for rebuilding after earthquakes and fires, and even striking coins to celebrate their relief efforts, the ancient equivalent of a modern press conference. They understood that a government's response to disaster reinforces its power. Opening the state-run granaries to feed a starving population wasn't just charity. It was one of the most powerful ways a ruler had to prove their right to rule. This forward-thinking approach shows that ancient societies understood a fundamental truth. A civilization is only ever a few missed harvests away from collapse. Their granaries and government policies were their insurance policy against the apocalypse, a blueprint for survival built not just on engineering, but on social responsibility. But what happens when the levees break? When the granaries run empty? What happens when the engineering fails? For ancient cultures, a catastrophe was never just a physical event. It was a spiritual one. Disasters were often interpreted as messages from the gods, expressions of divine anger for human mistakes. To survive, you had to manage the spiritual world just as carefully as you managed the physical one. In ancient Constantinople, a city that sits on a major fault line, earthquakes were a constant threat. They didn't just rebuild their walls, they built rituals. The church commemorated major quakes with annual rites, where worshippers would march in processions, believing that collective repentance could turn away divine wrath. These rituals provided a framework for making sense of the chaos, turning a terrifying event into a meaningful act of communal faith. This blend of the practical and the spiritual was common. In traditional Korea, where the weather was a matter of life and death, the king himself would preside over rain-making rituals, known as gyuje. An altar would be set up, and officials would pray to the heavens. One fascinating ritual involved palace children tormenting a lizard, seen as a symbol of the dragon god, in the belief that the heavenly dragon would send rain to save the little creature. When the rains were too heavy, other rituals were performed to ask them to stop. These ceremonies showed the people that their leaders were taking responsibility, blaming their own lack of virtue rather than abandoning their subjects to fate. It can be easy to dismiss these acts as superstition, but they served a vital purpose. In moments of extreme crisis, social cohesion can shatter. The historian Thucydides, describing the plague in Athens, wrote of a society where lawlessness reigned as people lost faith in both gods and men. Rituals were the defense against that kind of collapse. They reinforced social bonds, provided emotional support, and offered a sense of control in the face of overwhelming forces. They were the invisible infrastructure that held society together when the physical world was falling apart, a testament to the fact that surviving the apocalypse required more than just stone and engineering. It required faith and a shared story. Exploring these ancient blueprints reveals a powerful truth. Our ancestors were not passive victims. They were innovators, engineers, and survivors. If you find these stories of lost knowledge as fascinating as we do, please give this video a like, make sure to subscribe, and hit the bell icon to join us as we uncover more secrets from the ancient world, and check out our other video on the incredible engineering feats of the Roman Empire. From the intricate water-filtering reservoirs of the Maya to the flood-resistant planning of Mohenjo-Daro and the solemn rain rituals of Korean kings, Ancient cultures faced catastrophe with a powerful combination of practical ingenuity and profound belief. They understood that survival wasn't about a single solution, but a layered defense. They built dams and dikes, but they also built community through shared ritual. They stockpiled grain for the lean years, and they stockpiled social cohesion for the hard times. Their world was dangerous and unpredictable, and they met that uncertainty with incredible resilience and foresight. They didn't just pray, they engineered. They didn't just build walls, they built societies capable of weathering the storm. The question they leave for us is a simple one. As we face the catastrophes of our own time, have we prepared as well as they did? What blueprints will we leave for the future?